ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनामने गौरतुसे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone for today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So yesterday we discussed um, Bhagavad Gita first chapter and verse number 15. A very wonderful verse. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya Paundram Dadma Mahasankham Bhimakarma Vrikodara. Lord Krishna, known as Rishikesh, he blew his conch Panchajanya. Arjuna, Dhananjay, uh, who acquired wealth for the completion of sacrifice by Yudhishthira Maharaj, he blew his conch shell Devadatta, and Bhima, he blew his Mahashankham, the great conch shell, Poundra. Uh, Bhima, the performer of Herculean tasks and the ferocious eater, he blew his conch shell, Poundra. So we were reading this purport, and yesterday we just read one line and discussed about uh, misconceptions propagated by Mayavad. So Lord Krishna is referred to as Rishikesh in this verse because he is the owner of all senses. The living entities are part and parcel of him, and therefore the senses of the living entities are also part and parcel of his senses. The impersonalist cannot account for the senses of the living entities, and therefore they are always anxious to describe all living entities as senseless or impersonal. So that is their nonsensical thought, nonsensical idea by which they think that living entities are senseless. But that is not the fact. The living entities as well as the Supreme Lord, both of them have eternal transcendental senses by which they reciprocate. Uh, and they have reciprocation, they have activities, they have all the emotions, feelings, everything is there. So nothing is senseless. The Lord, the Lord situated in the hearts of all living entities directs their senses. Uh, So the Lord is situated within the hearts of all living entities, and He directs the senses of the living entities, all the living entities. That means the devotees as well as non-devotees as well. Both of them are directed by the Supreme Lord. The only difference is devotees. They are ready to be directed as per the desire of the Supreme Lord, but non-devotees, conditioned souls, they want uh, their senses to use in the matter in the business of sense gratification. That's why the Lord is only the person who directs the senses. So he fulfills the desire of conditioned souls also by giving them opportunity for sense gratification. Mhm. Just like, but without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, without his direction, nobody can use his senses. Just like a small child is there. So a good child, obedient child, he wants that my father should take care of me. My father should whatever he feels good for me, he should do that. The obedient child will agree with this. But the naughty child, he wants his father to act according to his nasty desires. So although the naughty child, his child, he cannot act, he cannot do anything, he cannot fulfill his own desire because he is helpless. He doesn't know how to walk, how to do, how to acquire things. But he goes against the will of his father, and father very mercifully, okay, this my child, he wants to do like this, although it is not appropriate. Let me give him some opportunity so that he can act according to his independent will, And when he will get some kind of pain and suffering, he will understand that this is not the proper way to act. And then he might become obedient to me. So, in this way, with this thought, the father does whatever the child demands, sometimes even bad thing also. Uh, but the internal desire of the father is that the child should become obedient to him so that father can do things for him which will be beneficial for him. Uh, and gradually the child learns these things after experiencing something. So similarly, the Lord is also our supreme father of all the living entities. So most of the living entities in this material world, not in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, all the living entities' desires are in sync with the Supreme Lord's desire. They only desire what the Supreme Lord wants. That is their integrity. They follow this integrity principle. Although they have complete independence in the spiritual world, they can act according to their desire, but they will not act according to their independent desire. They have the independence to act, but they don't act according to independent desire. They act depending upon the desire of the Supreme Lord, and they very well understand what exactly the Supreme Lord desires from them, and following his desires, they act accordingly. And the Supreme Lord reciprocates. And this way, there is mutual relationship, very nice relationship, and both of them, the Lord and the living entity, his devotees, they enjoy transcendental bliss. But in the material world, the living entity forgets his position of being subordinate to the Supreme Lord, and he wants to fulfill his nasty desires. And for this matter, the Supreme Lord himself helps him. uh, So, in this way, gradually he learns through sufferings, and one day when he comes in contact with the devotees of the Lord, then he comes to his senses, and then he finally decides that I should learn how to surrender to the Supreme Lord. But the Supreme Lord, he is actually the director of all the living entities. He is present within the heart of each and every living entities. In 15th chapter, Lord Krishna explains, Sarvasya chaham riti sannivishto mattah smritirjnanam apohanam cha. Mattah smritirjnanam apohanam cha. From me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. I am situated within the heart of each and every living entity. Riddhi sannivishtaha. I am situated, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. And he is only directing every living entity, but he directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity. As one surrenders to the Supreme Lord, similarly, in reciprocation to the surrender of the living entity, the Lord also directs accordingly. If somebody is 100% surrendered, the Lord will give him such nice remembrance and knowledge by which he will never forget Krishna. He will always be inclined to serve Krishna. And the person and the living entity who does not want to surrender to Krishna, Krishna gives him forgetfulness of his own relationship with the Lord, and he gives this material knowledge and remembrance so that the living entity can fulfill his material desires independent of the Supreme Lord. So that is the function the Lord does while being situated in the heart of the living entity. And in the case of a pure devotee, he directly controls the senses. In the case of pure devotee, Lord directly controls the senses and engages him in such a manner by which the devotee is always means he is always engaged in the service of the Lord, and he is always drawn towards the lotus feet of the Lord. Tesham Satatayuktanam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upyantite. Dadami buddhi yogam. Krishna says, those who are always desiring to attain my lotus feet, those who are always engaged in my service, I give them such a nice, pure intelligence by which they can come to me. So this is the function of the Lord. And those living entities who desire to become separate from the Lord, who desire to become the master or the Lord themselves, the Lord makes them forget his relationship with the Supreme Lord. And in this way, they glide down more and more in the material existence. So, here on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental senses of Arjuna. Specifically, Arjuna being the friend, intimate friend, and a devotee of Krishna. Krishna has taken charge of all the senses, not only the chariot of Arjuna, but Krishna has taken charge of his senses and mind and intelligence, everything. So that is the meaning of this Panchajanyam Rishikesh. So Sanjay is speaking this verse to Dhritarashtra. So he is indicating that Rishikesh, the master or director of the senses, has taken charge of the senses of Arjuna, and now through the senses of Arjuna, through the body of Arjuna, Lord Rishikesh is going to fight, and nobody can stand in front of him. When he decides to kill somebody, nobody can protect himself. Mare Krishna Rakhe ke, Rakhe Krishna Mare ke. If Krishna wants to kill somebody, even Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva cannot protect him. And if Krishna wants to protect somebody, nobody can defeat him, nobody can kill him. And so that is the indication Sanjay is giving in this verse. So, and thus his particular name Rishikesa is being used here. And the Lord has different names. Similarly, not only Rishikesh, in the previous verse, the name of the Lord has been addressed as Madhava because he is husband of goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Pati. This is the meaning of name Madhav. And accordingly, the Lord performs different activities. So the Lord has different names according to his different activities. That's why he has unlimited names. Like, for example, his name is Madhusudan because he killed the demon of the name Madhu, because he killed the demon, great demon Madhu. That's why his name became Madhusudan. Sudan means killer of the demon Madhu. His name is Govinda because he gives pleasure to the cows and to the senses. So Govinda, his name is Govinda. Go means senses, and Vinda means to give pleasure. So Go means senses and Go means cows. So Krishna gives pleasure to cows by taking the cows to the pasturing ground so that they can eat nice fresh grasses. In this way, cows they become very happy. So actually, this is the best method of serving cows. Cow protection. Actually, cow protection is a wrong term. Service to cow, that is the means important term. Nobody can protect cow. Cow protect everyone. Entire humanity is protected by cows who are happy. Who are happy. When cows and bulls are happy, then entire human society becomes prosperous. So cow protection, instead of cow protection, we say go seva. It's cow service to cow. And the best service one can give to cow is by providing them opportunity to go out. Pasturing ground should be available for them where they can eat nice fresh grasses. Uh, so that is the service, best service can be given. And Govinda, Krishna, gives such nice service to cows, and that's why his name is Govinda. And Go also means senses. So Krishna gives pleasure to the senses of his devotees. And how does he give pleasure to the senses of his devotee? Because a pure devotee, a devotee is always desirous of serving Krishna through his senses, all the senses. A devotee wants to engage all of his senses in the service of Krishna. So, and in this way, the devotee feels great transcendental bliss. So Krishna takes this responsibility. So Krishna gives out of his causeless mercy. Krishna provides such a nice opportunity for such a surrendered pure devotee to serve him. So Krishna gives him the opportunity, 24 hours opportunity to a devotee. In this way, devotee becomes happy. Uh, so one should not think that Govinda means one who gives pleasure to the senses. That means Govinda or Krishna should give pleasure to my senses who desire nasty things. No, nasty sense gratification, pleasure Krishna doesn't want to give. Actually, this uh, contaminated consciousness, the mind which is having all kinds of nasty desires, these nasty desires only becomes a cause of suffering, trouble. These nasty desires are the causes of pains and suffering to the living entity. It can never give pleasure. Pleasure, but in the material world, in the material context, as soon as we talk about pleasure, sense pleasure, so immediately the conditioned soul they think that the sense gratificatory activities are pleasurable for me. But actually, sense gratification is not pleasurable. Actually, it is a very painful situation. The more a living entity enjoys his senses, the more pain he experiences. Yehi samsapar se ja bhoga dukkha yone evate adyantvantu kaunteya nate shuramate buddha. Krishna says the seventh chapter Bhagavad Gita. Krishna explains, "Yehi samsapar sajab hoga dukha yone evate." As soon as the living entity uses his senses, brings the senses in contact with the sense object, and tries to gratify the senses. So that becomes a cause of his suffering, painful situation. That is not actually pleasurable situation. But actual pleasure is in separating the senses from sense objects, controlling the senses. When one can control his mind and senses, that is actually a pleasurable situation. That is not actually pleasurable, but that is peacefulness. When one engages one's senses in all kinds of sense gratification, that is a suffering situation. But when one controls his mind and senses and brings it under complete control and does not engage his senses in the activities of sense gratification, then his mind becomes peaceful. But when one engages his senses in the service of the Supreme Lord, then he experiences great pleasure. And what does it mean to engage our senses in the service of the Supreme Lord? That means our senses are meant to satisfy the senses of the Supreme Lord. That is the meaning of engaging our senses in the service of the Supreme Lord. So, Govinda, Govinda means Krishna, who gives pleasure to the senses. So how does he give pleasure to the senses? By giving the senses of the devotee, by giving the opportunity for the senses of the devotees to serve Krishna, just like this tongue. So tongue is tongue is one of the senses. So Krishna gives his Mahaprasad. Krishna gives the Tulasi offered at his lotus feet. Krishna gives the devotee opportunity to glorify him. Krishna gives the devotee to the opportunity to chant his holy name. So in this way, the devotee engages his tongue and mouth in the service of the Lord, and in this way he experiences great pleasure. Uh, the eyes. So Krishna gives the darshan of his beautiful form to the devotee. So in this way, by engaging eyes in seeing the beautiful form of the Lord, the devotee experiences great pleasure. And ears. Krishna gives the opportunity for his devotee to hear about his glories. And in this way, the devotee experiences great pleasure in hearing about the Supreme Lord. Similarly, hands and legs. Krishna gives the devotee the opportunity to serve him, to dress him, to bathe him, and to come to his temple, to cleanse his temple. So in this way, the devotee feels great pleasure. And his skin is also a sense. Ear, eyes, nose, and touch sensation is there. And the greatest kind of, the highest kind of pleasure, the highest kind of agitation one gets is because of touch sensation. The highest kind of pleasure is considered in this material world is actually sex pleasure. But that is actually the highest kind of, that is not highest kind of pleasure, that is highest kind of trouble or suffering in this material world. But the same touch sensation can be used in the service of the Lord. One can touch the body of the Lord. One can embrace the Lord. One can embrace the devotees. And in this way, in a transcendental emotion, when one uses his touch sensation for the service of the Lord, he experiences great transcendental bliss. It is so very much powerful that even when a person who is lustily attracted towards Krishna, when he comes in contact with Krishna, his lusty desires are purified. That is the potential of Supreme Lord's contact, touch. When Krishna visited Mathura, Kubja came and Krishna made her very beautiful young girl. So she got attracted to Krishna and she was feeling lusty and she proposed Krishna. So Krishna told, okay, I will come, but I will, first of all, I have to finish some of the business. I have come to destroy some of the asuras, demons here. After that, I will surely come and satisfy all your desires. So after killing Kamsa, Krishna came to Kubja, and Kubja, she was feeling very lusty. And but as soon as Kubja took the lotus feet of Krishna and touched it, all his nasty, lusty desires got purified. She became completely purified of all kinds of lusty desires, and she became a pure devotee. In this way, the touch sensation, when it is used in contact with the Supreme Lord, it not only it gives pleasure to the senses, but it purifies the nasty, lusty desires present within the heart, and it reawakens our original love for the Lord. So in this way, that is the business of Govinda. So Govinda gives this opportunity to his devotees so that they can engage each and every one of the senses in the service of the Lord, and in this way become actually blissful and happy. So that is why his name is Govinda. His name is Vasudev because he appeared as the son of Vasudev. His name is Devakinandan because he accepted Devaki as his mother. His name is Yashodanandan because he awarded his childhood pastimes to Yashoda at Vrindavan. His name is Parthasarthi because he worked as charioteer of his friend Arjuna. Uh, Similarly, his name is Rishikesh because he gave direction to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And so, in this way, Krishna has got many, many names because he acted differently. And almost in all of the names, Krishna acted as a very affectionate, beloved master of his devotees. Uh, so, just to give pleasure to devotees, just to protect his devotees, Krishna acts and accordingly he gets some name. So Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjay in this verse. In this verse, it is mentioned Devadattam Dhananjaya. So Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya in this verse because she helped his elder brother in fetching wealth when it was required by the king to make expenditures for different sacrifices. So when Yudhishthira Maharaj was performing Rajsuya Yagya, so great amount of wealth was required for executing such a great expensive yagya. So Arjuna, on the order of Lord Shri Krishna, he went to the Himalayas and collected all the wealth from there and gave it to Yudhishthira Maharaj to be used for the sacrifice. Similarly, Bhima is known as Vrikodara. Vrikodara means because he could eat as voraciously as he could perform Herculean tasks. Vrika Udara. Vrika means Vrika is actually this digesting fire is known as Vrika. So one who has this Vrika fire, digesting fire, is very strong in somebody's stomach. He feels very hungry and he eats a lot. So Bhima was like that. And not only he could eat a lot, but he could perform very heavy Herculean task also, such as killing the demon Hidimba. He killed the demon Hidimba. So the particular types of conch shell blown by the different personalities on the side of Pandavas, beginning with the lords, were all very encouraging to the fighting soldiers. On the other side, there was no such credits, nor the presence of Lord Krishna, the supreme director, nor that of the goddess of fortune. So they were predestined to lose the battle. And that was the message announced by the sounds of the conch shells. So the conch shells blown by the warriors on the side of Pandavas gave very significant meaning and encouragement to all the soldiers present on their side that they are going to become victorious. So in this 15 number verse, um, the names of council of three personalities, beginning with Krishna, then Arjuna, and Bhima is mentioned. Tomorrow we'll discuss in three verses the other warriors also who blew their respective councils. What are their names? So we'll discuss it tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare.
प्रभु
Hare Krishna.
जी मैंने चैट बॉक्स में पूछा है क्वेश्चन.
We don't have English out, don't want to talk to people, eat nothing, just want to sit and chant peacefully. So that is a good desire that we don't want to get involved in anything of this material world, and we simply want to remember Krishna, chant Krishna's name. So that is a very nice desire, and that is actually our ultimate goal. But this is a very elevated position. Nobody can imitate it. It requires a great spiritual maturity. Until unless one is very, very highly mature in Krishna consciousness, one cannot actually sit down peacefully somewhere and chant throughout the day and night. That is practiced by Haridas Thakur. Now, only Namachar Haridas Thakur can do this. Nobody else can do this. So it is not at all recommended to do this. There was one disciple, African disciple of Srila Prabhupada. She wanted the Prabhupada to allow him to make a cottage, a kutia in Mayapur, where he can just sit down alone peacefully and chant the whole day and night, 192 rounds. He should not see anybody, he should not talk to anybody, nobody should come to him. So in this way, he wanted. Srila Prabhupada warned him, no, no, you don't do this. You cannot do this. This is not possible for you. This is the activity practiced by Paramhamsa devotees like Namachar Haridas Thakur. But he did not listen and he went. And he just did this for a few days. And after that, he got so much frustrated that he left the entire Krishna consciousness and again he became a non devotee karmi. So, this is not recommended. We should. What is recommended, and Arjuna also desired like this. Arjuna told Krishna, my dear Krishna, I don't want to fight. I just want to go, take sannyas, sit down in the forest and chant your name. That's all throughout the day and night. Krishna told, no, no, you don't have right to do this. Your right is karmanyevadikaraste. Your right is in performing karma yoga. Karma yoga means you have a kshatriya spirit, so you do your service for me. You utilize your kshatriya spirit for serving me. So that is why in our stage, the sadhan bhakti is given. So we should live in the association of devotees and follow the instructions in whatever way they guide us. That you get up early in the morning, you chant your Hare Krishna Mahamantra, attend Bhagavatam classes, and then you go to college or office or business, you do your material things, come back again and do some service to Krishna, preaching service, anything. So this is recommended to us. Even for brahmacharis also. For us brahmacharis also, there are services. We are engaging in preaching services. And not only us, even Namachar Haridas Thakur, although he was chanting 192 rounds, but still he was going out and meeting with people and preaching to them. So, so that is not a recommended thing to be done because we will not be able to do, we will become more frustrated. So the best thing is that we should live in the association of devotees and hear about Krishna and practice Krishna consciousness peacefully. Okay. Is that clear?
मुझे मतलब प्रभु जी मुझे कभी कभी लगता है कि मैं बहुत वियर्ड पर्सन हूँ शायद। बहुत मतलब मुझे ही नहीं समझ में आता मैं चाहती क्या हूँ, या फिर ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि अब मेरा
So
मन
you
नहीं
need not to
कुछ।
understand. You should take guidance from Krishna and try to understand from him that what do you want. Krishna. So if you cannot understand what you desire in your life, what is to be done, what is not to be done, then take help from senior devotees and the Supreme Lord Krishna. Krishna's guidance is there in the Bhagavad Gita, and ask senior devotees in whatever way they guide us, we should follow their instruction with faith. So right now you are a college student, so you perform your morning program, chant 16 rounds, and then go to college, prepare for studies, and take a nice job, and then in your
प्रभु जी,
whatever is your capacity, you serve Krishna.
ओके प्रभु जी, ये कह रही हूँ कि मतलब जब हम लोग किसी सीनियर डिवोटी से बात करते हैं तो ये बताइए कि क्या मतलब हम लोग को ओपन हार्ट करके बात करनी चाहिए, मतलब सब कुछ उन्हें बता देना चाहिए, या फिर क्योंकि
यस,
सब
सब
कुछ
कुछ
नहीं
बता
बताएंगे
देना
तो
चाहिए।
शायद उस हिसाब से रिप्लाई नहीं मिल पाएगा।
यह सब कुछ बताना चाहिए, लेकिन सब किसी को नहीं बताना चाहिए। ओनली विथ फ्यू सम फ्यू डिवोटीज विथ whom वी आर वेरी मच कंफर्टेबल, जिनसे हम बहुत कंफर्टेबल हैं, जिनको हम जानते हैं दे आर रियली वेरी मैच्योर इन भक्ति एंड सीनियर एंड दे कैन गाइड अस वेरी नाइसली। सो उनको पूरा हार्ट हमको शेयर करना चाहिए। हाँ, सो यू शुड फाइंड आउट सम वेरी सीनियर नाइस माता जी डिवोटीज एंड ओपन अप योर हार्ट विथ हर एंड टेक नाइस गाइडेंस। ओके, सो
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। एक
यस जितेश ब्रो।
दंडवत प्रणाम। प्रभु जी, मैं कृष्ण के फर्स्ट और सेकंड फॉर्म को थोड़ा समझना चाहता हूँ, मत्स्य और कूर्मा अवतार।
फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड फॉर्म मीन्स?
प्रभु जी, मत्स्य और कूर्मा अवतार।
अच्छा, मत्स्य अवतार। मत्स्य अवतार भगवान लिए शास्त्रों को और जो जड़ी बूटियां थी और स्वयंभुवा मनु को बचाने के लिए, क्योंकि प्रलय का समय था उस वक्त। तो प्रलय के समय में भगवान मत्स्य अवतार लेकर के बड़े जहाज को लेके आते हैं, उसमें सबको बैठाते हैं और बचाते हैं जब तक प्रलय चलता है। और प्रलय होने के बाद वापस से भगवान फिर से सृष्टि प्रारंभ करवाते हैं। ये मत्स्य अवतार है। कूर्म अवतार भगवान लिए थे जब समुद्र मंथन लीला चल रहा था, तो समुद्र को, वो जो मंदराचल हिल था, उसको बैलेंस करने के लिए भगवान उसको अपने पीठ पे धारण किए थे, तो उसके लिए कूर्म अवतार लिए थे। ओके, सो वी सी टुडे फ्यू न्यू स्टूडेंट्स हैव कम,
प्रभु जी,
वी वेलकम
अ,
देम। हरे कृष्णा।
थोड़ा और प्रश्न
लाइक,
था इसी से जुड़ा हुआ।
ओके।
मैं मतलब वराह अवतार की तरफ ज्यादा मतलब इंक्लाइन नहीं हूँ, बट फर्स्ट, सेकंड,
वो
फोर्थ, फिफ्थ, सिक्स, सेवेंथ हाईएस्ट इंक्लिनेशन इन अवतारों पे है। और
अच्छा, क्योंकि आप वो
सेवेंथ, एट्थ,
इसलिए
नाइन्थ
हैं,
फर्स्ट।
दैट इज बिकॉज यू डोंट नो वराह अवतार। वराह अवतार के बारे में आपको पता नहीं है। आपको वराह अवतार
हम्म।
के बारे में पता चलेगा ना, तो आप
हम्म।
फिदा हो जाएंगे। आप अपना
ओके।
हृदय उनको दे बैठेंगे, यू विल बिकम
ओके।
सो अट्रैक्टेड टू हिम। हाँ,
हाँ।
एक पुराण है, वराह पुराण में एक भक्त का बताया गया है। एक
हम्म।
भक्त है जो है भगवान नारायण का बहुत अच्छे से पूजा करता है, और फिर
हम्म।
वरदान के रूप में क्या मांगता है कि भगवान आपका वराह रूप मुझे देख दर्शन करना बड़ा आतुर हूं मैं, मेरा बहुत इच्छा
हम्म।
है। वराह मतलब सुअर का अवतार है, सुअर का रूप लेके आए थे ना भगवान। तो
हम्म।
भक्त उस वो दर्शन करने के लिए आतुर था। भगवान बोले तथास्तु, अपना वराह रूप दिखा दिए भगवान। तो वो
हम्म।
ब्राह्मण इतना प्रसन्न हो गया, इतना आनंदित हो गया, अश्रुधारा बह रही है, रोमांच
हम्म।
कंपा शुतरंग भाजो हो गया, मूर्छित होके गिर गया इतना सुंदर अवतार देख करके।
ओके।
तो डोंट
तो
थिंक
प्रभु जी।
भगवान के एक एक अवतार, जितने भी अवतार है ना, वो सब के सब
हम्म।
ट्रांसेंडेंटली अट्रैक्टिव इनकारनेशन है।
मैं इसलिए
ब्रह्मा
नहीं
शिव जी भी
क्योंकि
अवतार।
मैं इसलिए इंक्लाइन नहीं हूँ क्योंकि वो रूप वैसा है, बट इसलिए इंक्लाइन नहीं हूँ क्योंकि वो नरकासुर का उसने जैसा अ, सब किया कि 16,000 रानियों को कैद करके रख दिया, तो इसलिए मेरा इंक्लिनेशन नहीं है इतना।
तो नरकासुर कौन है? नरकासुर तो असुर है ना, उससे आपका
हाँ,
वराह अवतार से क्या लेना देना?
बट वराह अवतार के भूमि देवी के साथ पुत्र है, ऐसा कुछ है ना?
हाँ, तो पुत्र है तो पुत्र गलती करेगा तो क्या बाप को सजा देंगे? ये कौन सा न्याय है?
बात तो प्रभु जी
आप
बाप
भी
को
तो
ही
आप
कंट्रोल
भी तो
करना है ना उसके पुत्र को।
आपको आप भी तो पुत्र हैं। भगवान बोलते हैं ममई वामसो जीव लोके जीव भूता सनातना। तो आप क्यों बिगड़ गए? भौतिक जगत
मैं
में
क्या
क्यों
बिगड़ा
आ
हूँ
गए
प्रभु जी?
आप?
मैं तो प्रहलाद महाराज की
अच्छा ठीक है,
तरह
ठीक है।
प्रार्थना करता
हाँ
हूँ।
ठीक है, ठीक है, ठीक है, आप प्रहलाद महाराज हैं। मैं भगवान का पुत्र हूँ,
ओके।
मैं कैसे बिगड़ गया
ओह,
फिर?
आप भी नहीं बिगड़े हो प्रभु जी, बिल्कुल नहीं। मैं तो प्रहलाद महाराज से
ठीक है, सुनिए
सिर्फ
सुनिए।
इंस्पिरेशन ले सकता
एक मिनट पहले सुनिए आप, मैं बता देता हूँ कारण। सो कारण ये है, नरकासुर, ऑल्दो ही वॉज सन ऑफ द सुप्रीम लॉर्ड वराहदेव विथ हिज वाइफ भूमि देवी, बट बिकॉज ऑफ बैड एसोसिएशन ही बिकेम डिग्रेडेड। गलत संघ के प्रभाव में आने से नरकासुर बिगड़ गया और असुर बन गया, अदरवाइज ही वॉज अ ट्रांसेंडेंटल सन ऑफ द सुप्रीम लॉर्ड। ठीक है, तो ये प्रभाव है, अगर हम गलत संगति में जाएंगे, आप कितने भी अच्छे क्यों ना हो, आप बिगड़ जाएंगे। तो नरकासुर इस प्रकार से बिगड़ गया। और जब भगवान देखे कि मेरा पुत्र है, यहाँ पे भगवान आइडियल लीडर का क्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी वो भी शिक्षा दे रहे हैं, कि अगर खुद का पुत्र भी गलत संगति में जा करके गलत कार्य करने लग जाए तो उसका वध करने से भी अपने आप को रोकना नहीं चाहिए। तो भगवान आकर के अपने ही पुत्र का वध कर दिए, क्योंकि गलत संगति में आकर के क्या कर रहा है, ये सब कार्य कर रहा है, गलत गलत कार्य कर रहा है। तो ये शिक्षा दे रहे हैं भगवान। तो आप बल्कि आपको और ज्यादा भगवान को सैल्यूट करना चाहिए, प्रणाम करना चाहिए कि अपने पुत्र को भी भगवान मार सजा देने के तैयार हो गए।
हूँ। हाँ प्रभु जी बिल्कुल, पर लीला में अगर ये कर देते कि भिड़ने से पहले ही रोक देते तो अच्छा होता। हरे कृष्णा।
आपको क्या लगता है कि आप ज्यादा बुद्धिमान है या भगवान ज्यादा बुद्धिमान है?
भगवान बिल्कुल प्रभु जी, वो तो
तो
सर्वश्रेष्ठ
भगवान ने
है,
जो
पर
डिसीजन लिया वो परफेक्ट डिसीजन लिया, उसमें डाउट मत करिए। यानी भगवान ने ट्राई बहुत किया होगा अपने बिगड़े हुए संतान को सुधारने के लिए, जब नहीं सुधरा, लातों के बाद भूतों से नहीं मानते ना, तब भगवान ने आखिरी में फिर ये डिसीजन लिया होगा, चलो इसका काम तमाम करना ही पड़ेगा। वो भी उससे उद्धार ही हुआ नरकासुर का।
ओके। हरे कृष्णा।
ओके। हरे कृष्ण। ओके। सो आज क्लास में दो तीन नए भक्त लोग आए हैं, आपका स्वागत।